Friends, have you ever wondered about the saying, "As you sow, so shall you reap"? We've all heard it countless times, but how often do we pause to reflect on its deeper meaning? This timeless wisdom reminds us that the actions we take today will shape the results we experience tomorrow. But do we truly believe it? Or do we dismiss it as just another old saying, irrelevant to the complexities of modern life? Think about it. How often do we act without considering the consequences? In our relationships, our careers, and even the small decisions we make daily, do we stop to ask ourselves what kind of seeds we are planting for our future? Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Have there been times when you worked hard for something, and eventually, the fruits of your labor came back to you? Or, on the other hand, have there been instances when your actions led to unintended challenges? This principle is not just a spiritual or philosophical idea. It's a universal truth that applies to everyone, no matter their background or beliefs. Today, let's explore this concept through the story of Peter, a farmer, and his wife. Their journey will help us understand why this principle holds true and how it connects to our own lives. Peter was an ordinary farmer living in a peaceful village with his wife. They led a simple but content life, much like many of us who find joy in small moments, spending time with loved ones, watching the sunset, or enjoying the fruits of our hard work. Life seemed predictable, but as we all know, unpredictability is the one constant in our lives. One day, Peter and his wife set out on what seemed like a routine journey. They went to another city to sell their grains, hopeful about earning enough to sustain themselves. But as life often does, their journey took an unexpected turn. Imagine this. You're returning home after a successful day, feeling good about your efforts and looking forward to resting. Suddenly, something happens that shakes your world. For Peter and his wife, it was an encounter with robbers. On a deserted road, far from their familiar village, the robbers attacked them and took everything they had. Their money, their belongings, everything was gone in an instant. Can you imagine the fear, the helplessness, and the uncertainty they must have felt? Alone in an unfamiliar place, without a single resource, they found themselves in a situation none of us would ever want to face. But here's the thing about life. Challenges, no matter how tough, are not the end of the road. They are a test of our resilience, our resourcefulness, and our faith. Just as Peter and his wife faced this unexpected crisis, many of us have experienced moments when life threw us off course. Maybe it was losing a job, failing at something we deeply cared about, or facing personal struggles that seemed too big to overcome. In those moments, we too feel like Peter, lost, uncertain, and wondering what to do next. Peter, however, didn't give up. He knew he had to do something to turn his misfortune around. As they walked toward the unknown city, searching for a way to start over, they came across a Buddhist monk's hut. Picture this, a quiet, humble place where a monk was seated, sharing wisdom with his disciples. For Peter, this was a moment of hope, a chance to find guidance and perhaps a solution to his problems. And isn't that what we all look for in our tough times? A sign, a person, or a moment that gives us hope and reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles. Peter decided to approach the monk and share his troubles. He greeted the monk with humility and poured out his heart. "Wise monk," he said, "I am in a dire situation. My wife and I have lost everything, and we have no one to turn to. Can you help us?" The monk listened patiently, his compassion evident in his eyes. He didn't offer empty words of comfort. Instead, he gave Peter practical advice. He told Peter about a wealthy merchant in the city who could lend him money. The monk suggested that Peter ask the merchant for help, even if it meant mortgaging his wife temporarily, with the promise of earning enough to repay the loan and reclaim their dignity. Now let's pause for a moment and reflect on this part of the story. How often do we find ourselves in situations where we must make difficult choices? Life doesn't always present us with easy options. Sometimes we must take risks and rely on the kindness or wisdom of others to get back on our feet. But the key here is to have faith, not only in others, but also in ourselves. Peter's willingness to act, despite his fear and uncertainty, teaches us that even in our darkest moments, there's a path forward if we're brave enough to take the first step. This is just the beginning of Peter's journey. But even now, we can see the seeds of his actions starting to take root. His story reminds us that life is a cycle of sowing and reaping, and every choice we make is like planting a seed in the soil of our future. Whether it's showing kindness, working hard, or finding the courage to start over, the actions we take today will shape the outcomes of tomorrow. So, friends, as we continue with Peter's story, I urge you to think about your own life. What seeds are you planting? Are they seeds of honesty, perseverance, and kindness, or are they seeds of neglect and inaction? Remember, the harvest may not come immediately, but it will come. And when it does, it will reflect the efforts and intentions you put into it. Let's move forward with this thought and see how Peter's journey unfolds. What will he do next? How will his choices impact his future? And most importantly, what lessons can we learn from his experiences? Stay with me as we dive deeper into this tale of resilience, hope, and the timeless truth of, as you sow, so shall you reap. Have you ever noticed how life has a way of giving back what we put into it, whether good or bad? Peter's journey, which we began earlier, is a vivid reminder of this truth. After the monk's advice, Peter made a difficult but necessary decision. He approached the wealthy merchant in the city, as the monk had suggested. Now, imagine being in his shoes, approaching a stranger, asking for help in a time of utter desperation. How many of us would have the courage to do so? Often, pride or fear stops us from seeking help when we need it most. Peter, however, chose action over hesitation. He explained his plight to the merchant and requested a loan, pledging his wife's service temporarily as security. The merchant agreed, but not without some skepticism. Isn't this a scenario we encounter in real life? When we're down, it feels like the world doubts us, questioning our abilities and intentions. Yet, Peter didn't let this deter him. He took the loan and returned to his village with his wife, determined to rebuild their lives. Now, let me ask you, when life challenges you, how do you respond? Do you retreat into self-pity, or do you rise and face the storm? Peter chose the latter. He used the loan to purchase quality seeds and began sowing his fields with care and determination. Day by day, he toiled under the sun, nurturing his crops with the hope of a better tomorrow. This stage of his journey reminds us of an essential truth. In life, there's no substitute for hard work. Success doesn't come overnight. It's the result of consistent effort, even when the odds seem stacked against us. As time passed, Peter's efforts began to bear fruit, literally. His crops flourished, yielding a bountiful harvest. The once barren fields were now a testament to his resilience and perseverance. Can you see the parallel to our own lives? How often do we overlook the small, consistent actions that lead to significant outcomes? Whether it's studying for an exam, building a career, or mending relationships, the principle remains the same. What we put in is what we get out. With his newfound success, Peter didn't forget his promise. He returned to the merchant, repaid the loan, and reclaimed his wife's freedom. This act of integrity is a reminder of the importance of keeping our commitments. Think about it. How often do we take shortcuts or ignore our responsibilities when we achieve success? Peter's story teaches us that true success isn't just about personal gain. It's about honoring our values and fulfilling our obligations. But life isn't just about work and obligations, is it? There's a deeper layer to our existence, one that revolves around how we treat others. As Peter's prosperity grew, he didn't keep his wealth to himself. He began helping his neighbors, sharing his knowledge and resources with those in need. This brings us to an essential point: generosity. When we give without expecting anything in return, life has a way of rewarding us in ways we can't predict. Peter's generosity didn't go unnoticed. The community that once pitied him now respected and admired him. His kindness and humility inspired others to follow his example, creating a ripple effect of positivity and collaboration in the village. Isn't this what we all aspire to? A life where our actions not only improve our own circumstances, but also uplift those around us. So, let me ask you, how do you want to be remembered? As someone who worked hard for personal success, or as someone who made a difference in the lives of others? Peter's story reminds us that the legacy we leave behind is shaped by the seeds of kindness, integrity, and effort we sow during our lifetime. But the story doesn't end there. Peter's faith in himself and the principles of life continued to guide him. One day, he revisited the monk who had given him the advice that changed his life. With gratitude in his heart, Peter shared his story of transformation. The monk smiled and said, "You see, Peter, life is a cycle. What you give to it, it gives back to you. Never forget this truth." And so, my friends, I leave you with this question. What seeds are you planting today? Are they seeds of diligence, kindness, and gratitude? Or are they seeds of negligence and negativity? The choice is ours to make. Peter's story is a testament to the power of our choices and the ripple effects they create in our lives and the lives of those around us. As we reflect on this tale, let's resolve to take responsibility for our actions, work with dedication, and treat others with compassion. Because, in the end, life will give us back exactly what we've given it. And when that time comes, may we all stand tall, proud of the seeds we've sown and the harvest we've reaped. Have you ever wondered why some people, despite facing immense hardships, manage to transform their lives completely? What is it that sets them apart? Peter's story, as we followed so far, holds a critical clue. It's about the power of self-belief. After everything he endured and overcame, poverty, despair, and debt, Peter understood one vital truth. Believing in yourself is the foundation of every success. Let's revisit Peter's journey. Once a struggling farmer, he had turned his fortunes around through determination, hard work, and integrity. But his transformation didn't stop there. Peter began dreaming bigger. He aspired not just to provide for his family, but to create opportunities for others in his community. How often do we let our fears limit our dreams? Peter shows us that self-belief isn't about arrogance. It's about recognizing your potential and being courageous enough to act on it. He started by teaching others what he had learned about farming. He shared the techniques that had brought him success and encouraged his neighbors to take similar steps. At first, some doubted him, questioning why he was so eager to help. But Peter remained steadfast. This is where we find another lesson. True leadership inspires others by example. He didn't just tell his neighbors what to do. He worked alongside them, showing that success is a shared effort. Now, let me ask you, how do you define leadership? Is it about power and authority, or is it about guiding others with humility and empathy? Peter's approach reminds us that leadership isn't about commanding. It's about empowering. It's about lifting others so that they, too, can rise. As his neighbors adopted his methods, their lives began to change, and soon, the entire village started thriving. This brings us to another pivotal point: gratitude. Despite his growing success, Peter never forgot those who had helped him along the way. He frequently visited the merchant who had lent him money and the monk who had given him life-changing advice, expressing his deep appreciation. Think about it. How often do we pause to acknowledge the people who've supported us? Gratitude isn't just a courtesy, it's a way of staying grounded. So, let's reflect. Who are the people in your life you're grateful for? A teacher who believed in you, a friend who stood by you, or even a stranger who offered kindness when you least expected it. Gratitude is a bridge between humility and fulfillment. It reminds us that we're not alone in our journey and that acknowledging others enriches our own experience. As Peter's life flourished, he began giving back to society in even greater ways. He donated a portion of his profits to build schools and healthcare facilities in his village. His actions highlight the importance of social responsibility. Success, as Peter understood, isn't just about personal gain. it's about contributing to the greater good. But let's pause here for a moment. What does social responsibility mean to you? Is it just a vague idea, or is it something you actively incorporate into your life? Whether it's volunteering your time, sharing your resources, or simply being kind to those in need, every small action counts. Peter's story reminds us that when we uplift others, we elevate ourselves as well. The villagers, inspired by Peter's vision, began working together to make their community self-sufficient. They cultivated not just crops, but also a spirit of unity and cooperation. Isn't this what we all desire? A sense of belonging, a community where everyone thrives. Peter's journey shows us that the real measure of success lies in the impact we have on others. Finally, let's talk about the overarching theme of Peter's transformation: purpose. His life took a meaningful turn when he found a purpose greater than himself. He realized that his hardships weren't just obstacles, but opportunities to grow, learn, and give back. Purpose is what gives our lives direction, turning challenges into stepping stones. So, I ask you, what is your purpose? Is it to achieve personal goals, or is it something larger, something that touches the lives of others? Finding purpose isn't always easy. It requires introspection, patience, and the willingness to act. But once we discover it, it becomes the compass that guides us through life's uncertainties. As we conclude Peter's story, let's carry its lessons with us. Believe in yourself, lead by example, express gratitude, embrace social responsibility, and seek a purpose that resonates with your soul. These aren't just abstract ideals. They are actionable steps that can transform our lives and the world around us. And so I leave you with this thought. What legacy will you leave behind? Like Peter, we all have the potential to rise above our circumstances, inspire others, and create a meaningful life. The journey begins with a single step, a single decision to be better than we were yesterday. Let's take that step today and start sowing the seeds for a brighter, more fulfilling tomorrow. Have you ever wondered what truly sets apart ordinary lives from extraordinary ones? As Peter's story unfolds further, we see how his life became a testament to the power of vision and action combined. His journey now shifts to lessons that touch on perseverance, adapting to change, maintaining humility in success, and creating a legacy. These themes remind us that growth never truly ends. It's a lifelong process. Let's begin with perseverance. By now, Peter had built a thriving village where people worked together and flourished. But success wasn't the end of challenges. A severe drought hit the region, threatening their crops and livelihoods. Despite all his efforts, nature posed an obstacle beyond his control. In moments like these, it's easy to lose hope. But Peter didn't. He reminded himself and his community that adversity wasn't new to them. Let me ask you, how do you handle setbacks in life? Do you see them as roadblocks or opportunities to innovate? Peter's response to the drought was a lesson in resilience. He worked with the villagers to build water storage systems and diversify their crops to include more drought-resistant plants. It took months of hard work, but their efforts paid off. The village not only survived but came out stronger. Perseverance isn't just about enduring hardships. It's about actively seeking solutions when the odds are against you. This brings us to the next point: the ability to adapt to change. The world around us is constantly evolving, and those who refuse to adapt often find themselves left behind. Peter's willingness to embrace change, whether in farming techniques or community strategies, became one of his greatest strengths. He understood that clinging to old methods out of fear or pride would only hinder progress. Now think about your own life. How comfortable are you with change? Whether it's a career shift, a new environment, or learning a skill, adapting can be daunting but rewarding. Peter's journey teaches us that flexibility doesn't mean losing your identity. It means growing stronger by embracing new possibilities. The villagers, inspired by Peter's openness, became innovators themselves, turning their small community into a model for others. As success continued to follow Peter, his name became well known in the region. People came to seek his advice and guidance, praising him for his achievements. It's easy to let recognition inflate one's ego, but Peter remained grounded. He credited his success to the collective efforts of the villagers and the lessons he had learned from his failures. So, let's pause and reflect. How do you handle success? Does it make you complacent or motivate you to keep striving? Peter's humility in success is a reminder that true greatness lies in remembering where you came from and who helped you along the way. His gratitude and humility made him not just respected but deeply loved. Finally, let's talk about creating a legacy. Peter's story was no longer just about him. It became a symbol of what's possible when vision meets action and when individual success turns into collective progress. Peter didn't just build a better life for himself. He built a better future for generations to come. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Is it wealth, knowledge, or the positive impact you've had on others? Peter's legacy wasn't measured in material wealth, but in the lives he transformed. His teachings and the systems he put in place ensured that the village would continue to thrive even after he was gone. As Peter grew older, he began mentoring younger generations, sharing his experiences and wisdom. He knew that true legacy isn't about clinging to your achievements, but about passing the torch so that others can carry the light forward. So, here's the takeaway. Persevere when times are tough. Adapt to change with courage. Remain humble in success, and think beyond yourself to create a lasting legacy. These aren't just lofty ideals, they're practical steps we can take every day. And I ask you, what steps will you take today to shape your future and the future of those around you? Peter's story reminds us that no matter where we start, we all have the potential to create a ripple effect of positive change. Let's commit to a journey of growth, action, and purpose, leaving behind a world better than we found it.